behave yourself. You're going to behave. Hey? You're going to behave. You're going to behave yourself. Hey? You're going to behave. Well, you need to. There you go. Behave yourself. Where you go? Come on then. Where are you going? What are you going to do? Hmm? Oh, you've got an audience over there, look. Hey? Oh. No. Come on then, mate. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Well. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Hillside, Sunday the 26th of April, and for a few hymns. Somebody suggested this might be dubbed the new Sunday half hour. Well, I don't suppose the BBC will be interested. There we go. I'm going to start this evening with a hymn which was requested by Jenny Brewer from Camborne. It's 63 in hymns and psalms and 455 in singing the faith. Hymns and psalms 63, singing the faith 455. All my hope on God is founded. Wonderful words. They've been around for a long time, based on words by Joachim Neander from lived from 1650 to 1680. I'm not telling you anything you can't work out for yourselves, but perhaps just a little bit of background to the tune. I'm going to play the tune by Herbert Howells, who died in 1983. It's the tune Michael, and it has the name Michael because it's written in memory of his son. His son died, and this tune was written in memory of Michael. So all my hope on God is founded. Get the technology to work like we want it to. tune, and written, as I say, on the death of his son Michael. That's Herbert Howells, who contributed so much to the literature of the organ world and to choral music. Some great pieces by Herbert Howells. I'm going to return to a hymn which I played last week, and I played it to a tune which we don't normally sing it to. Our technology is not doing what I wanted to do this evening at all. Just fiddle just for 1 minute. So I'm going to do 201, and I'm going to do it to the tune Triumph this time. Last time I did it to Regent Square, and I think it was Colin Williams said to me, ooh, he said perhaps another time I would do it to Triumph. So I'm going to do it to Henry Gauntlet's tune, this time Triumph 201 in Hymns and Psalms, 201 in Hymns and Psalms. And it is a good tune. Gauntlet figured largely in the organ world and had quite an effect, an influence upon the way in which organs were built over the years. In particular, of course, a particular bit of history. It's really quite fascinating. Great organ builders, William Hill, a great organ builder who constructed a magnificent instrument for Birmingham Town Hall, and Henry Gauntlet had quite an influence on the way in which the organ was constructed, and we have 30-note pedal boards, but they were around at the time of Gauntlet. They were much smaller, and one cathedral organist was heard to remark, well, you can put the pedals there, but I'll just rest my feet on them. But as time went on, with people like Mendelssohn coming onto the scene and exploring the organ works of Bach, and then of course you needed a whole pedal board, otherwise you couldn't do justice to the works. Anyway, look, ye saints, the sight is glorious, see the man of sorrows now, and this time to the tune Triumph. And for the technically minded, I'm going to use the Wyvern electronic for this, and not my computer generated organ. was talking of organs. If you would like to glean a bit more information about some of the instruments and pictures of older instruments in and around the county, then you need no further than our own Lance Foy's organ page on Facebook. I hope you won't mind me saying, but it's fascinating to see the old black and white pictures along with the current day work that Lance and the team does. But wonderful instruments. The organ in Liscar Parish Church actually was in somebody's house. It was a house organ. It must have been an enormous house because it's a big, comprehensive 3-manual organ, and some work has recently been done to it by Lance and team, and it's even better than when I helped to work on it back in the 80s. But that's another story. I count myself quite fortunate. Not only do I get to play, but I've got a reasonable idea what goes on behind the facade. Well, the next hymn I'm going to play for you is "I'm Not Ashamed to Own My Lord," and this one I put the page up on the site so that hopefully you could print it off, or if you're really clever you can have 2 devices, so you can look at it on one and see me playing it from another. So I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, and this was a request from Christopher George. I hope I've got all this right. I'm sure Chris won't mind me telling the story and why he asked for it, because back some years ago, 2 young ladies from Twelveheads came to sing Trazillion. One was Judith Bray and the other was Janet Brewer, and they used to sing together as a duet, and they used to use something called an auto harp. We don't see these very often these days, and I can remember them playing and singing, and it was you strummed the strings and you put down a key, I suppose, and it played the correct chord for it. It was lovely. And Judith and Janet went to sing at Trazillion, and I think that's where Chris met Janet, and I suppose the rest is history. So there we go. So I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, and we've got a chorus, at the cross, at the cross. So here we go. say before, and why not, mind you, I thought I ought to correct my wrong note. But the old tonic shift sort of happened, didn't it? It wasn't particularly, just sort of went there, not particularly well prepared. Never mind, do these things on the spur of the moment. So from something which is rather jolly in nature to perhaps a more sombre hymn, in lots of respects, with its when it gets used, a great hymn that's used at funerals and football matches. 665 in hymns and psalms. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide, and it's 141 in singing the faith. Words by Henry Francis Lyte. I can't quite remember all the background which goes with this, but I've always liked this hymn and the words and all the rest of it, and chance to do a bit of word painting. And I'm going to do some word painting. Let's put that out of the way in this, and had some interesting comments passed over the years. One of the things which organists like to do, or tend to do, is do a unison last verse arrangement or a change of harmony, just to make a bit of variation and something slightly different. And that's something which it's better to really have prepared than actually try and do it on the spur of the moment. Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, and I know when I've tried to, it hasn't gone right, and I thought, oh my dear life and days, I wonder who's listening. But over the years, having played this hymn quite a few times, crematorium and so on, and various services, I've rewritten the harmony for verse 4, I fear no foe. And you might wonder why I've done it for verse 4 and not verse 5. I really don't know actually, but I think to really sort of emphasise the words, I decided I would do it in verse 4. And you wouldn't believe, just a couple of comments over the years. I'm just going to check the technology, bear with me 1 minute. Oh yes, it's still there, that's alright. The phone ran out of battery on Friday when I was doing an online choir practice. I thought I should just check it. There was one funeral director at the crematorium when I changed the harmony for verse 4. He said, "Here, you played something different," he said, in that verse 4. It played a different tune. Well, no, I didn't actually play a different tune. It was still the same tune, but the underneath was slightly different. And I also did it at the cathedral for a service, and one of the vergers commented afterwards and said, "Oh," he said, "I thought you were going to finish a verse early," thinking that I built it up for a big... Fortunately, I realised that there was another verse. I knew there was another verse to go. That's a whole other ball game, and I've got stories I can tell you when we haven't had quite the right number of verses. However, I digress. So abide with me, fast falls the eventide. So my verse 4 I wrote out, and as I don't particularly remember it that well, but I have here on the wall, very kindly, Alison from the choir framed my verse 4 harmony. So I've got a copy I can play off. So in verse 4 I'm going to play off this picture, because it's got the harmony in it, and I can't always trust myself to remember what I've done. Anyway, I've spoken for far too long, so let's get on and play. So 665, abide with me, fast falls the eventide. I wouldn't claim that the verse 4 harmony is all my own. I know somebody had suggested a chord. I thought I liked that, so I borrowed it from him, and I'm sure there were other arrangements which I probably heard, and it's sort of gone in here, and I thought, oh, I'd quite like to use that and make my own. So there we go, Abide With Me. I suppose a more modern hymn is to be found at 746. One More Step Along the World I Go. 746 and 476 in Singing the Faith. 746. One more step along the world I go. And this comes up quite often at various outings. We've gone from a funeral hymn, I suppose, to a wedding hymn. Various stories about weddings for this one. Oh, a bit of this has fallen off now. That's not so good. Everything's falling apart this evening now. My pistons are falling apart now. Oh well, fill them out with that in a minute. Still make it work, that's the thing. Oh dear. I suppose this instrument's had more use over the last month than it's had for some considerable time. It's great to be able just to practice a few bars, at least that's the plan, and whilst you're getting your tea and things like that, it really is quite handy. I think I'll fiddle that in a minute. One more step along the world I go, one more step along the world I go. From the old things to the new, keep me travelling along with you. As Mark's been encouraging us all the time to stay safe, but to stay close to God as well. We're all travelling along this road. It is rough at times, and it is bad, and it is good, and we never know what we're going to find around the next corner, do we? You just don't know. So, where are you going? Hey, what's the matter? Cat's arrived. So we may get a duet, you never know. One more step. Got to keep pressing onwards. Treat it a bit like a march as you're going along the road, and getting towards the sort of theatre organ style, I suppose, of playing. Wouldn't do for everybody. I suppose probably wouldn't play like that at the cathedral, dare I say. However, yes, and the theatre organ, I had a wonderful opportunity to go to a place in Lincoln, to a place called Bertie Fen. Wonderful name, Bertie Fen, and I had the opportunity, given the opportunity from friends I went and stayed with, Janet and Frank Trestrail, and my parents who went at the time, and they spoilt me by paying for me to have some time at Bertie Fen. And if you go to my YouTube page, you will find some short recordings we made, and Dad playing as well, I think, at Bertie Fen, where they had some theatre organs and a big 4-manual organ from St Marylebone Road Parish Church, I think, before they updated. I think that's right. It was quite a while since I was there. But it was a grand evening, and I had the chance to play on a real theatre organ, which is something which I wanted to do. Actually, I hadn't realised this, but it brought me neatly along to the last hymn for this evening. I wonder how many of you remember Dudley Savage and As Prescribed on a Sunday morning. Dear Dudley Savage used to play the organ in the ABC Cinema in Plymouth, which I think now is a bingo hall. I don't quite know what's happened to it, but the organ was there for some considerable time, hidden away. But Dudley used to play of a Sunday morning As Prescribed, and he would do a mixture of straight tunes, hymns, and some classical pieces, and then some lighter theatre organ type stuff, because the theatre organ has the same, it's a pipe organ with various additions which you wouldn't find on a normal pipe organ. The ability to shake the wind and create this vibrato tremolo effect, which we can do with organs, with classical pipe organ, but it's not the same kind of thing. Anyway, it could go on and on. So Dudley would play as prescribed, his programme of music, and then there was, following that, another programme called The Chapel in the Valley, and it was a programme whereby there would be some singers, and I think it was Sandy McPherson who would play the organ, and the idea was that there was a group of singers in a chapel in the valley, I suppose a bit like Twelveheads or Carnan Downs or Hicksmill or anywhere, actual field or whatever, and they would be singing and put on a lovely programme. And I remember it's a boyhood memory, but I no doubt some of you are going to say, oh yes, I remember that now. When I talked to church choir about it, they thought I was making it up. I'm sure I'm not. I'm sure there was a programme, The Chapel in the Valley, which actual fact, although it was meant to be in a valley, it was actually broadcast from London somewhere, and but it was wonderful. And I'm sure one of the hymns that they had on this programme is the last one I'm going to do tonight, which I did print up, Hark, Hark, My Soul. I didn't print it up, I put it on the net for you to print up. And it's rather lovely. Once again, the tune by Henry Smart, Pilgrims. Giles Richard had suggested I did this, and I was going to include it a bit later on because I'm doing my old Methodist hymn book from Thursday onwards, and I've got a whole collection. Please keep sending them in, and I thought I would perhaps just start a little bit earlier and do this for you this evening. So hark, hark, my soul, nice gentle hymn to finish on. this evening. I hope some of your favourites were there, perhaps there were some you didn't know, and there we go. Perhaps there's some bits and pieces that you'll go off and look up, and then the bits you're unsure of you can always go back over again. And so please do take good care, stay safe as always, and I will be back again on Tuesday with hymns from various places, and then on Thursday I'm going back to the Methodist hymn book, and I have enough for about 2 hours, I think. So anyway, look forward to seeing those. So I'll say good night and God bless.